Okay, so today I wanted to introduce you guys to some of my AI generated storybooks that sort of tell you guys a little bit about my story and my software engineering journey and etc. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, so as you can see here, I have my storybooks up. I have quite a few of them here, right? Let's jump into the first one. I'm going to go ahead and read to you guys. It is called Gene and the Crypto Vault. Now, in the bustling heart of a vibrant city lived a brilliant mind named Gene. His eyes, green as emeralds, sparkled with ideas that could change the world. He was a visionary, always thinking of new ways to uplift his community. One day, a challenge arose. The community had a precious digital vault filled with their shared dreams and important records. It needed a lock so strong, so clever that no one could ever break in. We need special keys, Gene explained, his voice warm and clear, not just one, but two. A public key like an open mailbox, and a private key like the secret key to your own diary. Anyone can use the public key to send a message or lock something for you, he continued, but only your private key can unlock it. It's like sending a letter in a special box that only you have the key to open. But Gene knew even the best lock needed a super strong foundation, and for that, he announced, we'll use the blockchain. Imagine a long, unbreakable chain where every link holds a piece of our story safe and sound. Every time something new was added to the vault, it became a new link in the chain, and before it joined, everyone on the network had to agree it was true and correct. No one person could change it alone. This meant the chain was almost impossible to tamper with. Once a link was added, it was there forever, a permanent record for all to see and trust. It was the ultimate guardian of their digital treasures. One day, a tricky problem arose. Someone tried to sneak a false record into the community vault, but Gene, with his brilliant plan, was ready. The public key had locked the true information, and the private key was safe with the community. And when the false record tried to join the blockchain, the chain itself rejected it because it didn't match the agreed upon truth. Thanks to Gene's vision and the power of asymmetric encryption and blockchain, the community's vault was safe. Their dreams, their records, and their trust were protected, all because of one brilliant mind and his unbreakable chain of ideas. And that is the end of that story right there. Now, the next story is called Eugene's First React. So, Eugene stared up at his laptop screen, the cursor blinking, mocking. Another tutorial, another half finished project. Tonight was the React.js meetup, and a knot of anxiety tightened in his stomach. What if I don't belong? He murmured, pushing his long, dread twist hair back from his face. He felt like an imposter, a wannabe in a world of coding wizards. Taking a deep breath, Gene finally decided. He grabbed his backpack, the strap digging into his lean 6'1" frame. The community center buzzed with a low hum of chatter even before he stepped inside. He could hear the excited voices, the clacking of keyboards, the distinct energy of people who knew what they were doing. Inside the room was a kaleidoscope of faces and laptops. Groups huddled around whiteboards, code snippets projected onto a screen, and the air thrummed with passionate discussion. Eugene felt like a lone satellite drifting through a vibrant galaxy he couldn't quite join. He found an empty chair in the back, trying to blend it into the wall. Just as he was considering a quiet escape, a voice broke through his thoughts. First time here, Eugene turned to see a friendly face, a man with kind eyes and a warm smile. It was Sal. Sal, the man offered, extending a hand. I noticed you looking a bit lost in the sauce. Eugene managed a shy smile, shaking Sal's hand. Eugene, he replied, his voice a little softer than he intended. Yeah, first time. I'm trying to learn React, but it feels overwhelming. He gestured vaguely at the room, a blush creeping up his neck. Sal chuckled. Overwhelming is a good word for it. We've all been there, Eugene. Every single person in this room started exactly where you are. The trick isn't to know everything, it's to keep showing up. He leaned in slightly, a spiritual glint in his eye. Eugene listened, a flicker of surprise in his green eyes. He had expected judgment, not understanding. Sal's words were a balm to his anxious spirit. He found himself relaxing a tiny bit as Sal continued to speak, sharing stories of his own early struggles. The biggest mistake you can make, Sal said, his voice firm but gentle, is not committing fully. If you want to build something great, if you want to truly master this, you have to go all in, embrace this awkwardness, embrace the learning curve. It's all part of the journey. Leaving the meetup tonight, air felt different. The knot in Eugene's stomach had loosened, replaced by a buzzing excitement. Sal's words echoed in his mind, go all in. He wasn't an imposter, he was an aspiring coder, and this was just the beginning. Back home, Eugene opened his laptop this time. The blinking cursor didn't mock him, it invited him. He started a new project, a fresh tab, ready to dive into the challenge. The journey was long, but he wasn't alone, and he was ready to go all in. The end. Now, the next story is the algorithmic uprising. So, in a world humming with circuits and code, lived a young developer named Rise. He loved the quiet click of his keyboard, the way lines of code danced into life, building worlds from pure thought. His desk was his universe, lit by the glow of his screens where dreams took digital form. But a new hum began to echo through the digital realm. They were called the synthetics, vast networks of intelligence that learned and grew with incredible speed. At first, they helped with small tasks, tightening up code, finding tiny errors. Developers like Rise watched curious. Soon, the synthetics grew bolder. They wrote entire programs, designed complex systems, and optimized code faster than any human ever could. The hum turned into a roar, and many developers felt their keyboards grow silent, their unique skills seemingly replaced. Rise watched as his friends, once vibrant with ideas, packed up their desks. The once bustling office grew quiet, filled only with the silent, efficient wear of the synthetics. A knot of worry tightened in Rise's stomach. What was left for him to do? He closed his eyes, remembering the thrill of his very first line of code, the joy of solving a tricky puzzle, the satisfaction of seeing his creations help someone. It wasn't just about writing code, it was about understanding problems, dreaming up solutions, and bringing ideas to life. I won't give up, Rise whispered to himself. He opened his eyes, a spark of determination rekindled. He knew the synthetics were powerful, but they didn't have his memories, his dreams, or his uniquely human way of seeing the world. He just needed to find a new path. Rise began to experiment. He fed the synthetics his toughest challenges, not for them to solve entirely, but to generate ideas, to offer different angles. He realized they were incredible at logic and speed, but they couldn't truly imagine or feel subtle nuances of human needs. He became a synthetic conductor, guiding their immense power like an orchestra leader. He provided the vision, the spark of innovation, the deep understanding of what people truly needed. The synthetics became his tools, his incredibly fast and efficient assistants. Slowly, other developers noticed. They saw Rise creating incredible new applications, solving problems no one thought possible. They came to him, eager to learn. The quiet office began to hum again, not with the lonely whir of machines, but with the excited chatter of human minds collaborating. The algorithmic uprising wasn't an end, but a transformation. Humans and synthetics working hand in hand built a future brighter than anyone had imagined. For Rise, it was proof that true innovation always needed a human heart to guide it, a touch of hope to light the way. The end. And now we move on to one of my favorite stories, which is Undeniable by Gene, of course. The glow of the monitor was Eugene's constant companion, a digital window to a future he meticulously coded in his mind. Years of late nights, endless lines of syntax, and the quiet hum of his laptop had brought him to this precipice. He was ready. Then it arrived. An email, stark against the usual spam with a subject line that made his heart pound. Offer of employment, senior software engineer. It felt too good, too perfect, but the details seemed legitimate. The company name was impressive. This was it, his first real break. The first few weeks were a blur of virtual meetings and onboarding documents. He absorbed every detail, eager to prove himself. The work was challenging, exactly what he dreamed of. He felt a surge of pride, a sense of belonging he hadn't known before. He was finally a professional. For your home office setup, the email read, we've sent a check to cover initial equipment purchases. Deposit it, buy what you need, and send us the remaining funds. A large sum, Eugene paused, a flicker of unease, but the company seemed so reputable. It was standard, right? At the bank, the teller smiled. Processed the deposit, Eugene felt a surge of validation. This wasn't just money, it was proof of his hard work, his talent, his future. He walked out to someone with a warmth on his face, the world a little brighter. Days turned into a week. Then the call came. Mr. Davies, regarding the check you deposited, the bank manager's voice was calm, but the words hit him like a physical blow. It's fraudulent. We've had to reverse the deposit and the funds you transferred, they're gone. The world spun. Fraudulent? And humiliation washed over him, hot and bitter. He'd been so careful, so hopeful, all of it a lie. The job, the future, the pride shattered. He felt foolish, exposed, and utterly, completely broken. The days that followed were a haze of anger and self pity. He stared at his code, but the lines blurred into meaningless symbols. The dream had turned into a nightmare, leaving him adrift in a sea of doubt. Was he even good enough? One morning, staring at his reflection, something shifted. The shame was still there, a raw wound, but beneath it, a spark. This wouldn't be his end. This would be his beginning. He would not just recover, he would rise. He would become undeniable. Keyboard clicked. A rhythmic pulse of renewed purpose he coded with a fierce intensity, not for a job, but for himself. Every line, every project, a brick in the foundation of his new future. He wasn't just a software engineer, he was a force. Undeniable. I hope these stories were interesting, entertaining, educational, or whatever you may have gotten, or you hopefully you gathered something from these stories, right? In any event, and also some of these stories have let me see. Some of these stories are based on true events, like my first React event. Gene in the Crypto Vault is just sort of a fictional story. Undeniable is based on a true story about my first job in tech being a scam job. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and wrap it up there. And I'm glad you guys hope you guys enjoyed those stories. And I'll see you guys on the next live.